In this video, I'm going to show you how I get 20,000 Spotify streams for my new song, Black Hole, in 2 weeks. And first of all, let's take a look at the Spotify for Artist numbers. So I will admit it's been 16 days. It hasn't been 14 days for the 2-week mark. So at the exact 2-week mark, it was roughly 19,000 streams, and then the extra 1,000 trickled in over the weekend. But this is the stats for the song. So we got 20,246 streams. We got 9,000 listeners. Over 2 streams per listener, 1,300 saves, which is like a 14% save rate. And we did get an algorithmic playlist boost, which comes in the form of release radar. So basically, if your song does good enough in the first couple weeks, it can get an algorithmic release radar spike that can be pretty substantial. And that's how we get 10,000 streams from release radar. And you can see that impact here in this big increase in streams that happened for roughly from Friday to Friday, starting a week after release up to the third week or the second. Third. It's weird talking about release days, but that's what this big spike is here. That's from that algorithmic release radar spike. So there were 2 different things that happened for this campaign. The vast majority of it is Facebook ads. And I'm going to I'm going to show you the exact campaign. I'm going to show you the feature FM numbers, and we'll go through how you could set that up for yourself as well. But I also want to point out I did run a marquee for this, and I want to go through that now. So I ran a $350 budget Spotify marquee campaign. It only spent $200 because the way the marquee works when I ran this was that it had to be United States only. And also the way marquee works in general is it's always retargeting people who already like your music. So basically if it just can't spend a certain budget that you give it, it will only spend what it can. So spoiler alert, I'm going to make a video sometime in the near future that marquee has actually been expanded to more countries, and I'm testing that out right now. But I spent $200. It got 404 clicks, and 209 of those clicks converted into listeners. This isn't the best ratio I've ever seen with marquee, by the way. I do have a video on marquee you can see right here if you want to learn more and see some campaigns with some larger numbers. But do note that this just ended on, it's going to keep updating for another 9 days or so, at least at the time of filming this video. So these numbers should change. But these are the engagement stats I got. So 209 listeners, 3.59 streams per listener. So that means we got roughly 700 streams from this $200 investment. But the thing is, the reason why marquee can be good, like these are only United States listeners, which are harder to get. And also they're people who already know who I am. So they're more valuable to me to make sure that they hear my new music because people don't buy merch and join your mailing list the first time they see you. They do that several times after they see you. So that's kind of the value proposition of something like marquee. So these are the stats for that. I just wanted to point out that's part of it. Now we're going to spend the bulk of this video going over the Facebook ad side of things. So if you aren't familiar with how I run these campaigns, we're going to set it all up here. But generally what we do is we're using something called a conversion campaign where we send people to a landing page very similar to something like this. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. In fact, in a lot of cases, it won't be exactly like this. And then this page has a Facebook pixel installed in it that tracks when people click one of these buttons. And so often I'll tell people only have Spotify and Apple Music on your landing pages. The only reason I'm doing more now is because I've been focusing on Spotify for so long, I kind of want to hedge my bets a little bit. And instead of focusing on one thing, kind of start to spread out a little bit. But most people just Spotify and Apple Music. So we're tracking when people click these actions. And that's what our campaign is optimizing for. And you can see here that we're testing all these different variables. So if I go over to the campaign tab, we have our Black Hole streaming campaign. If I click inside of that, we have all these 10 different ad sets or the audiences that we're actually targeting. Most of them are turned off because they cost more per result. And then inside of each of these, there are multiple ads, sometimes 3, sometimes 2. I started testing a third one. Usually I have more ads in this. I just got a little bit lazy, which I don't recommend doing because I probably could have shaved off some performance in this. And I'm actually currently filming new ads for this song to try to make a different campaign or incorporate in this one and see if I can get the cost down further. But that's how this is structured. So campaign level, bunch of different audiences, inside of each audience, several different ads, trying to figure out what works best. And so we can see in this cost breakdown, we ended up turning off all these things down here, and you can see why. Like electronic rock cost us, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. We won't be able to see everything because my head's in the way. But we can see that electronic rock was actually too low. Electronic rock costs 50 cents. It's below the screen. But Cyberpunk costs 56 cents. Dexter, the TV show, with some electronic genres, 69 cents. Ton of Rock, 56 or 53, then 46, 47, 44. And I'm left with these three here. Now, all of these audiences here are targeting what I call tier 2 countries. And then up here, I'm trying to target tier 3 countries again. And these are much cheaper. And we can go over the Spotify stats for this in a moment. But that's kind of general strategy. So how do we actually make a campaign like this? Well, I have a ton of videos on this already, but a lot of people have been asking me to give, like, as of right now, what's my most recent recommendation for setting up a campaign? Because it's been, I think, 2 months since I've made one. So we're just going to click create here. And we are going to do a conversion campaign. You don't want to do traffic. I see, like, probably the number one mistake I see people make with a failed campaign on my consultation calls, which, by the way, there's a booking link in the description if you want to book a call, is that they run a traffic campaign instead, and they're not using a Facebook pixel. They're trying to send them straight to Spotify. Check out this video if you want to see why that often doesn't work. But we want to do conversions in this case. So we're going to do continue. And I'm just going to call this test conversions. You would name this the name of your song. We're going to turn on campaign budget optimization, which has recently been renamed to Advantage Campaign Budget Plus, for whatever reason. It actually different depending on your version of Facebook ads. It might actually be called something different. I have access to like dozens of Facebook ad accounts. Everyone's on a slightly different version. It's very confusing and makes it hard to teach this stuff, but it might be slightly different for you here. Similarly, when you went to create the campaign, if you don't see a conversions option, you just see 6 different options. I'll try to put a screenshot here of what it looks like. You want to choose engagement for that. It's just every ad account slightly different. So here you just define your daily budget. You could do lifetime, but I normally do daily. And then we can click next down here. And now we're in the ad set. So remember from before I was saying these are our audiences essentially. So we could just name this. Most of mine I do tier 1/2. My definition of tier 1/2, I have my own list that's in my course, but generally it's look at the list of Spotify countries, which you can find on Google. Don't target all of Asia or Africa. That'll leave you with tier 1/2 for the most part. And the thing that I've noticed is that different people can target different things and get different results in terms of places. Just wanted to kind of bring out the whole country thing. But I do have an official list in my course if you want to know exactly what I target. And again, link in the description if you're interested in that. But tier 1/2, and then here we'll come back and we'll name this after once we figure out what we're targeting here. So in conversion event, I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm using Feature FM, which is a great service that I do enjoy. If you want a discount, I have an affiliate link in the description. But it's kind of expensive, honestly, especially if you're just starting off with this. No one really starts off with Feature FM. They're more something you end up with because you realize you're doing this so much that it's worth the investment. A lot of people start off with ToneDen because they have a free tier, and so in this particular ad account, I'm not using ToneDen, but here we have View Content, and View Content is the event that if you're using ToneDen and you install your pixel on ToneDen, which I do have videos on that, the whole ToneDen, so I'll link it here. I'm doing that a lot in this video, but that's how you would set up ToneDen, View Content. And so, keep going down. I like to choose people just living in the locations I defined. And then this is where we could go in and add, if you have them saved, tier 1/tier 2 countries. And these are the tier 1/tier 2 countries that I typically use. And I just save them directly inside of there. Now for ages, this is going to completely depend on you and your demographic and your genre of music. I normally do, I believe, 18 to 44, something like that. Sometimes 18 to 40, sometimes 18 to 50. I always go a little bit wider than I think I need. Oh, and actually, you see this warning up here. Russia's blocked right now because of war reasons, right? So they're blocked from Facebook, so you can't target them at the moment. But when they come back, include them. They've been one of my best countries for the past year. So it's kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is, right? So now we have the targeting, and this is where things get exciting. So first of all, if you're just doing Spotify, or you want to emphasize Spotify, you put Spotify here. Now, if you also want to emphasize Apple Music, you can just put in Apple Music here too, or you can just put Apple Music. But this is how you could kind of target both people. Often I'm just putting Spotify, and then I find naturally certain percentages of people go to their own platforms depending on what you link on this page. And so now we can click Define Further, and you can see what happens here. I don't know if it'll let me show it when I zoom in. You see how it has this and must also match thing? So Spotify and must also match. So this is like the cross section, or like the Venn diagram of these two things. Instead of Spotify, like if we put something up here, it'd be Spotify or that, like Spotify or Apple Music. But down here, it's Spotify and so this is where I could put 30 Seconds to Mars or something. And that's a band, if you don't know them. Then we have our people here. So this is a fairly small audience. I wouldn't run this for conversion campaigns. My rule of thumb for conversion campaigns is at least have several million people. Depending on your genre of music, the sweet spot might be like 2 to 5 million, 2 to 10 million. And if you're doing a different genre of music, it might be 50 to 100 million. There's really no magic number. You just want to test and see what works for you. So in this, but pretty much like I've never seen anyone go under 1 million and have great results for this type of campaign. So you could bundle different things here, and you can see as soon as we added Coldplay, like that brings us up to that spot. So let's just make this Coldplay. And at this point I can rename this, and I'm just gonna call this Coldplay. If you have all small bands, you can put multiple small artists there. Or if you only have big artists, you'll have different big artists and different ad sets. Or you can do genres of music, alternative rock, electronic rock, whatever you want to do. But now we get to the placements thing. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to turn off a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to have stories and reels. We're going to turn off reels. I found those do not work very well for this type of campaign. And then for this section, I'm going to turn off all this stuff. So we're left with these 7 placements, and this is what I've been using for quite a while, probably about a year now, I think, maybe at least all of this year, these 7 placements. So 3 stories, 4 feeds. Some people I know have good results with Reels. I found Reels to have very low CPMs, or basically cost per impression is very cheap for Reels. So if you're running video view campaigns, Reels can be worthwhile, but for conversion campaigns, I found the people just don't convert. And it may depend on the ads, because I've noticed when running TikTok ads, the ad is like you have to design it around that kind of TikTok style video. So it might just be that the style of video that I'm using in the other placements works fine because it's like an aged format, right? Whereas the TikTok Reels format, it has its own kind of aesthetic and feel and for what works. And so I think that it might be the case that those my ads just aren't as well fitting for that. Other artists, perhaps younger, more TikTok-y artists are more fluent, and like their ads fit that format better, and so maybe that's why it works for them. So feel free to try it. I just found for me, it hasn't worked as well. But that's the audience. So now we can click next. And at this point, we're making our ad. So we choose our social media accounts, single image or video, manual upload, add media, add video. That's where you upload your video. And I'll just add one here, just one of my existing ones. Just so you can see this, the type of video that I'm using. For stories and reels, it's always this vertical thing. I've already cropped a version of this, so I'm going to do replace, cropped version. And now we have all our feeds and story videos in here. And it's just a performance video. So I'll just click play so you can kind of see what it is. Pretty simple, I would say. And then at this point, call to action, listen now. We can grab our link. Now with Feature FM, this is one of the things I love about Feature FM. We can do get link, paid channels, Facebook promoted. And the reason, the thing that does is when I go to insights, you see how I get these breakdowns for what's different, like Facebook promoted versus Koji, which is my link in bio. Email, which is basically if I send out this link in email, organic Facebook, original, I think this is basically me testing it, and then YouTube organic. So we can track everything separately, right? And that's one of the things I like about Feature FM. With Toned In and Hyped It, I used to just make different links for each one. Hyped It recently added a feature that can actually do a very similar thing for you too, which is awesome. Hypedit's been adding a lot of cool features recently as well. So now we have our link here, we have our listen now, and we have our video. Now we want to add text, and what I would do, and let's see if I have, this is what I added for this. Modern dark electronic rock, enter the black hole, with a little emoji of like a black hole. It's like a hole in the ground, but it kind of looks like a black hole. And this is kind of what I go for, either describing the song or describing the lyrics or putting a lyric quote. Don't just put out now or new song or listen to this song by this artist. It's boring. No one cares. It's not really going to help you. Put something that gives people a reason to care. Like if someone sees modern dark electronic rock, I like to think that's a pretty accurate description of this song, you know? And I'm not like being overly cheesy about it. At least I don't think I am. And what's most important is that you write something that feels authentic to you, right? You don't want to feel cheesy. You want to feel confident in what you write. So try to find that voice when it comes to that. And at this point, we have our ad. Now over here, I could call this chorus 2. I could come over here and then I could quickly duplicate this. And now we have a second ad. I could call this chorus 1. You could do this as many ads as you have, but then I could go to Coldplay, quickly duplicate. And then I could maybe, I don't know, like 30 STM, and then I would go down and change the targeting, and now I have these two, and I could do quickly duplicate, and I could call this electronic rock. I could go down, I could change the targeting, and remember, like these videos are different videos, so make sure that when you do them, you change the videos depending on which part of the song you're testing or different visual you're testing. And at that point, you have the entire campaign sculpted, right? All right, so now we have to talk about something super important when it comes to the performance and why we're doing this. Like you saw in my thing, it cost roughly 37 cents a conversion, although when I do the math, there's always some missed data on Facebook. I mean, first of all, maximum 37 cents, last 7 days 33, yesterday 32 cents, so it's getting better over the last 2 weeks as it runs. But when I factor in missed conversions, so like I can see how many conversions I have on Feature FM, it's more than what Facebook tells me because the pixel data is not perfect. So my actual cost per conversion over the lifetime is 30 cents. But you might be thinking like, well, how does that math check out in terms of like you're paying all this money per stream? And also you have 20,000 streams and you have 9,700 listeners, but you only have 1,900 total clicks here. Like what happened? And what happened is the algorithmic playlist. So if I go to the song and then I go to the playlist section, we get 10,000 streams from Release Radar, algorithmic. Like most of these are not my followers. I would assume roughly 1,000 of these streams are from my followers because I have like 11,000 followers in Spotify. The other 9,000 or so are just like algorithmic Release Radar boost, which I do have a video on like how to get into these algorithmic playlists, how many streams and stuff does it take in this video right here. And because of this algorithmic boost I got on Release Radar, that's pushed me with a high enough like stream, listener, save count to start getting in Discover Weekly. And usually I don't start seeing this until at least a month after the song comes out. And the reason why this is cool is because if I go to playlists and we look at the lifetime of my whole catalog, Discover Weekly is the biggest mover of streams across everything else, even bigger than this 1 million follower editorial playlist that I'm on, or that I was on for like a month. Discover Weekly, even in the past month, has given me 14,000 streams, and even radio, 10,000 streams. So these algorithmic playlists are what make these campaigns worth it. And you can even have songs that are profitable. Now, I'm not gonna, like, that shouldn't be your goal with this. Like, the goal of a campaign like this is not to like make immediate money off of the streams. But it can happen. It doesn't happen immediately. It happens after the fact, right? Recently, someone was saying, I had a video on this song that was called like 30,000 streams in 3 weeks, and people were like, well, how does, like, the money side of things, how does that check out? And my answer is, well, fast forward 6 months, now I haven't spent any more money on it, but now it has 150,000 streams. It still gets 11,000 streams a month, just from people listening again and again, and from algorithmic playlists. And that's really like how you can even approach justifying an investment in this, aside from the fact that like you're growing your audience, which has an inherent value, of course, right? Growing an audience is an asset, right? That's in a way different and hard to quantify and compared to actual direct cash. So I realized that was a ton of information, but I have an entire playlist right here full of a bunch of free videos so you can learn even more about this, see more examples, and get into the nitty-gritty of how this works. And also, I have an organized course if you prefer more organized structure with more content, shows every single excruciating detail. You can check that out right there. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video. Bye.